Context. While farming Teostra on stream, I had a random thought about a feature which could make Greatsword feel even more complete. This led into a topic about quality of life in games and if some changes in Monster Hunter Wilds are sacrificing good game design in favour of lowering the entry barrier. The following conversation took place over on my stream at twitch.tv/EarthbunderCharlie. No, you're not listening to this at 1.5 speed. Or are you? Like, now that I kind of think about it, especially now that this game is coming to an end, or is already done and Wilds is on the horizon, I think the shoulder tackle thing, I think there could be more reward to it when you actually successfully shoulder tackle. It could even be something like when you successfully tackle through something and hit something, maybe you go into maybe you release your charge faster. Because the annoying thing about the tackle is that sometimes you feel like a badass when you actually successfully tackle through something, but oftentimes the monsters move fast enough that even when you tackle through something, you're not able to land like your charged swing. Even if it's not TCS, even if it's just a regular charge, you're rarely able to, like, not rarely, I shouldn't say rarely, but I think it would be more satisfying if, like, it encourages you to, like, successfully charge through and land, and then maybe, like, when you do that, this TCS would come out quicker to reward you for actually charging through something, you know. Just my time playing it and kind of thinking about it, because even in just this fight, this Teostra fight, it's happened so many times where I'm like, oh yeah, I knew he was going to do this attack, so I charged through it, and I charged through it, but now, like, my attack is so slow that I can't capitalize off of that charge through. In Wilds, you keep your charge level after super armoring through something. Oh, that's good. That's definitely an upgrade for sure. But my concern is that I guess maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they thought about it. Maybe the reason why it's not a thing is because they're worried that it will be too strong. Because it's quite easy to charge through something. It's not that hard. But they could just do it, make it a timing thing where, like, if you do like a perfect charge or you perfectly charge through something and hit, right? I think it should be a two-step thing. You have to charge through something, like you have to receive damage and you have to hit the monster. And then maybe when you do that, the swing comes out quicker. I think the swing just needs to come out quicker as a reward for holding your charge and actually taking the damage and charging through something. I think that would make Greatsword perfect. Like, it's already a good weapon, but I think that would make it perfect in a way that isn't broken, like isn't too powerful, I don't think. Because as it is now, you charge through something, it's like you have the right idea, but your weapon just swings too slow to typically capitalize off of the right idea, which kind of sucks. Well, keeping the charge level already speeds up your attack kinda, because you don't need to recharge it back to level 3. Also, you can turn mid 180 mid TCS. What else do you want, greedy man? I think the turning TCS thing, I don't think that should be in the game. I'm in that camp, but I think that's one of those things where because of the focus system, they couldn't not, like, Greatsword being able to do that is a result of the focus camera system. It's like they had to. It's like a byproduct of this is what happens when you have this mechanic. Now you can aim anything, including the TCS 180. I actually don't think that's good. I don't like that idea. But even keeping your charge, it's like you keep the charge, but you still have to go into the. Maybe I need to see how it looks in Wilds. But like if I go into training. Because if I understand you correctly, the problem is still kind of exists. So if I do this, right? So let me just go charge and get my level 3. So as it is now, so here I've charged up to level 3. But every time I let go of every time I successfully tackle, my character still has to go into this holding back animation, and then I let go, right? The problem is that most monsters, when you successfully charge through, when you're doing this, like the fact that your character has to recoil back into this animation and then let go, I think the reward should be you charge through something, and then when you let go now, your shit just comes out quick. I think that's what should happen. I think that would be the cherry on top. That would make Greatsword even more satisfying to play. I actually think it does all the right things. It's like, you know, engagement, timing, the feeling of landing the hit, you know, the neurons that fire off in your brain. Like, it's just, I think it would be perfect. Huh? You are in the third part of the attack, but you are not in level 3 charge. Like, even if okay, I see what you're saying, but the problem is I'm not concerned about the charge. I'm concerned about the speed of which the attack comes out, right? Because even when I let go, obviously that's level 1. You still need to charge TCS into a 3rd tier charge. Yeah. I'm not saying that the dash through should put you at the 3rd tier charge. I'm just saying that the attack should come out quicker, right? Whether it's a level 1 charge or level 3, I think that when you charge through, like that, I think that should just come out faster as a reward for when you dash through, right? I'm not saying it should go up to level 3. When I say level 3, I meant TCS. I just meant like the last stage of TCS. But I think all too often, even when you charge through a monster's attack like this, when you let go, a lot of the time you miss. Obviously it depends on the fight, but it feels bad to miss when you've timed something correctly and then you don't get a reward for it. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like a reward that rewards good play, you know, good timing and good spacing. Because that's the thing. It's not just the thing about GS is that it's not just timing, it's spacing as well. Spacing is very important, and sometimes you even have the right spacing. Sometimes the spacing is perfect, but because the speed at which it comes out, the monster has moved away, or it's done a tiny, like, the monster has begun its next attack and the starting animation of the next attack is a lean back. And because it does the lean back to attack you, when it leans back, it dodges your TCS because it's leaned back, you know. That happens a lot as well. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the focus camera 180 GS thing. I'm also not a fan of the Longsword being able to cancel its Helmbreaker in the air. It just feels a bit. I think there's such thing as a bit too much quality. I think when quality of life starts to lower the ceiling of commitment, I think now we're looking at something that is not. It's not beneficial. I mean, obviously there's a benefit. The benefit is that it's easier and less risky, but I think that it just comes at a cost, you know. And I don't know if that cost is worth it. Like what difference is it? It's like, okay, you give somebody the freedom to cancel the Helmbreaker in midair, or you don't give them the freedom because the point of that is to teach them or to let them understand that this attack, you need to know it's gonna land. Like you need to do this attack if you think you're gonna hit. It's a committal attack, right? So it's like, what is more important? Giving the player the freedom to just cancel out of a mistake or a bad timing, or teaching the player that this is when you use this attack, make sure the monster's gonna get hit by it. And I think the latter is more important. And clearly the latter was more important for the entire existence of that attack. It's just now in Wilds they decided to make it different. And I don't think it's worth the cost of. I don't think it's worth the cost of admission, as they say. But it's like they've made so many changes to weapons that I could see a world where the change that I described for Greatsword, I could definitely see it happening. It's like if they're willing to do things like allowing you to cancel your Helmbreaker in midair, then letting your TCS swing come out faster when you successfully charge through something at the correct time. That those two worlds are not that far away from each other. Yeah, I think that they have to be careful with some of that stuff. You know, philosophically speaking, when you make a game or when you make a weapon, and you have these heavily committal attacks. Ring, 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 ring. Phone call, phone call. This is Charlie from the future reporting in, aka Grammar Sergeant. All right. I have just noticed that every time I say the word committal, I'm using it completely wrong. So every time you hear that, please replace it with me saying something like X weapon has an attack that requires a lot of commitment. For some reason, I made the brutal mistake of assuming that committal is in relation to the word commit because it has commit as part of the word. But I utilized the epic powers of Google and educated myself. Education is good, people. Do it whenever you can. Anyway, back to the video. The design concept, like the reason why you have these heavily committal attacks should be because you want there to be some attacks where you want the player to be careful with how often they use it. You want them to use it sparingly or at the right time, right? That's the philosophy you want to give to the player. But then when you allow that attack to be cancelled at any point, that is destroyed. When like that philosophy of let's make this attack something that the player needs to be very, very careful with, right? And then 5 years later in the fifth game, you know, just hypothetically speaking, in the fifth game or the 10th game, whatever it is, in that game, they're like, oh, actually now that super hyper committal attack where we were trying to teach you to be concerned about timing, actually now that attack, you can just cancel it anytime. So now the timing is not too much of a big deal because you can save yourself. That's what I don't think is good. I think that is clearly and demonstrably bad for the design of the game. I'm not saying it's not fun or it's not like engaging, but I think something is lost now. Something unique and special and worth having is now lost when that part of the game is shifted around too much. But yeah, it's definitely like I agree with the people because I've heard the sentiment a lot, right? A lot of people have communicated this feeling, and I'm definitely in that camp, like 1,000,000%. And I'm sure there's other quality of life stuff similar to that longsword change with other weapons too. I just don't know all of them. Giving option to cancel nukes is one thing, but another is that Capcom gives that ability to weapon that does not need it and does not give it to weapons that would need it, like Charge Blade. Oh, right. Yeah, it seemed like Longsword was just getting a lot of love and it seemed like it didn't really need... Like, I understand coming into a new game and it's like, okay, let's give every weapon something fresh, something new, something cool. I get that. But if it is the case that Longsword is now looking like it's getting the majority of the love, especially when there's a lot of that love could have been shared around, I don't know. I'm honestly, personally, I'm not even against Longsword getting more attention, like more changes. I'm not even against that. I'm mostly against the unique value that is lost when we now move away from commitment with the attacks or with some attacks. That's where my issue is mostly. Also, it's funny that they said that focus mode aiming will be mostly used by newbies and shit, and the mechanic is so fucking broken that 95% of people will have it permanently on. Oh yeah, like because you can, yeah, I'm quite curious to see how focus mode plays out. I'm also concerned, well, I say concerned, I shouldn't be, because nothing is gonna, I don't think they're gonna go back on this, but I was watching, I mean, I felt this way before watching these content creators, and this is an opinion that I've had since World came out. But I was watching like Rurikhan and Preach. They had like a podcast together, and I'm glad that they brought this up because they're both quite big content creators, and apparently Capcom has been in touch with Preach, and like they want him to play Wilds, and they've been in the chat while he's been streaming the game, just to see his feedback and stuff, or see how he engages with the game. And Rurikhan and Preach brought up the issue or the ability to restock at camp, right? And I'm glad that both of them said that they don't really like it. They think that it kind of takes something away. And I've always felt that way. I know a lot of people have felt that way as well. But I always felt that, and obviously I know why Capcom put it in. I think they were worried that, like, going from the old games to World, clearly they were making a whole bunch of QOL changes to allow the game to have a greater chance at appealing to the masses, which clearly succeeded because World to this day is still their best-selling game, right? But I think there is a world where you can do the restocking thing in a different way that doesn't feel so strong, or doesn't feel like, oh, now my preparation at base camp doesn't matter too much, because if I forget something, I can just teleport to my tent and restock and do everything there. I mean, I guess you can't do everything. You can't set decorations and stuff, but outside of that, I think being able to restock your items is a quality of life change that I wouldn't mind being reverted. And I don't think that reverting that change makes the player... I don't think that should be the deal breaker, if that makes sense. Like, if there is a casual player that plays this game, let's say they play like 4 or 5 hours and they're still learning about, you know, taking items and going the gameplay loop of going to camp and going on a quest. Let's say a player is playing for 5 hours. I don't think the deal breaker for them to put the game down is the realization that they can't restock at camp. You know what I mean? I don't think that would ever be... Like, there would be 12 other reasons why a player might stop playing this game. I don't think no base camp restocks would be one of them. And that's why I think that they can afford to not allow that to happen. Or this is the compromise. This is the compromise. And I think if they don't do this, I think it's quite bad, right? If they don't do this, or if at the very least I haven't thought of this. I think what they should do, if they're really concerned about beginners and barrier of entry being relatively simple, I think that whatever Wilds' version of Master Rank is, whether that comes in base Wild at the end game or Wilds' expansion, I think Wilds' version of Master Rank should disable camp restocking. Like, the rest of the game can have it, low rank, high rank, but then the Master Rank, whatever the G rank is for Wilds, or even going forward with all Monster Hunter games, I think it's not a bad idea for them to be like, okay, now you're a Master Hunter. Now you're really fighting really dangerous creatures. And so now preparation is even more of a factor. So you can't restock at camp. You know? And even in the lore, even in the story, they could make this make sense, right? Like, in the story, I guess with the restock, it's like, oh, you know, the guild is always ready to help hunters, no matter the situation. Anytime you need to restock, just head back to camp and somebody from the guild can help you out, right? That could be the story in low rank and high rank. But then in Master Rank, they can just say, oh, you're in Master Rank now. You know, you're in the Grand Line, like One Piece reference. You're in the Grand Line. The Grand Line is too dangerous, so we can't afford to send hunters or guild members to restock your shit because it's too dangerous. So you really need to choose carefully, because you only get one. You only get one. You know what I mean? Everybody gets one because it's too dangerous. I think that would be a good compromise. Or, like Rurikhan mentioned, in some older Monster Hunter games, when you get to a certain point in the quest, like maybe 10, 15 minutes in, or after you break a piece of the monster, then the guild finds out, like, oh, that hunter has weakened that monster quite a lot. It's safe to go to his base camp and give him supplies, right? So you could have a compromise where it's like, you can't restock at camp, but if you fight well and you keep the aggression on the monster and you break a certain amount of parts, then the guild will send like one restock. Like, maybe they'll send a copy of the items that you had, into your base, and you can take that out of your base one time if you want to, or if you need to, something like that. I think there's a really clever way to get around it. There's a really clever way to get around it that doesn't make people lose out that much. You know, it serves both the beginner and the end game player that cares a lot about not being given too much freedom or too much choices. And before, like, if anyone that tries to make the, oh, if you don't like it, just don't use it argument, like, just flush yourself down the toilet with that argument. It's just one of the stupidest arguments in the world, you know. Like, obviously, if you don't like something, you can just not engage in it, but that doesn't change the reality or the conversation about good or bad design. Like, I hate when people say, oh, you don't like it, just don't use it. So, well, no shit. We're not talking about whether one has the freedom to use a thing or not. We're talking about what is good design, or what is a good direction for the future of the game, you know? I just hate when people say that. Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there. Yeah, I don't think restocking was a main point why people liked World so much compared to other games. Yeah, I personally feel like it's just first PC release and good graphics, animations that don't look like total memes. Give me an option similar to SSF and PoE, but so I can't restock in Monster Hunter, and I will be, oh, you'll be happy. They would need to make my nickname Glovo to tell everyone that I'm a Giga Chad player. I wouldn't be against that either. Unfortunately, I don't think they would do that because they don't want to. I think a lot of Japanese developers sometimes are concerned with making players feel alienated or belittled. It's the same reason why, like, because I used to think, oh, it would be cool if in the when you kill a monster in multiplayer, it would be cool if they showed you or told you who got the last hit, like who got the kill, who actually killed the monster. But I don't think they would like that because it kind of creates a, and I get it, like it kind of does create a, oh, it was me, I killed the monster. It does something to the vibe and the nature of the community that plays these games. It could do something to it, I should say. And I think a glowing name would fall in that category. Like, I don't think they would want to give a glowing name to differentiate, oh, this is the Giga Chad, and you guys are the blue pill guys in the corner, you know, afraid to talk to women and can't leave the house because, you know, you're some kind of hikikomori or something, you know. But yeah, I personally wouldn't be against it. But yeah, I really do hope. I actually think there's a chance that endgame wilds or G rank wilds may actually have something like this, where okay guys, you're a master hunter, you're at G rank now. We're still gonna hold your hand in some areas, but in this area, this restocking thing, you've had your fun with that, you've had your time in the sun. Now you need to properly leave on the mission, go on the mission, knowing and planning accordingly. And if you screw up, you either need to fight the monster, break some parts, and then you get a restock, or just go back to camp like we used to do, you know.